So we had a big verdict, a really big verdict come out Friday afternoon. Rudy Giuliani's case, right? Once upon a time, America's mayor, $148 million.
The highest medical malpractice verdict in Allegheny County, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, that I know of was $8.7 million. Don't ever tell me to settle a wrongful death case for less than that amount in the future. I mean, we deal with hospitals killing people, doctors negligently killing people, and the defense is offering $1 million, $2 million. I mean, how many times have we seen the value of a life from 1 million to 2 million, but nobody has a problem with 64 million when notoriety was brought to these ladies? When I understand it was more than that, but that's where I want to hear you make a counter argument.
On this episode of Sour Grapes Theater, look, the system fundamentally undervalues dead people. Right? Wrongful death cases do not get awarded sufficient damages. We've often talked about the fact that, from a what the case is worth perspective, having millions of dollars of projected medical expenses further in your future ends up being more valuable to a case than a plaintiff actually passing away. I do think that they should be getting more than they do, but plaintiffs' attorneys and defendants' attorneys both know that wrongful death cases go to verdict all the time and get $2 million, $1 million, $3 million. Never mind the fact that this was a case where there was no actual meaningful contest to liability by the time you got to trial, right? Settling a case where the defendant says, yes, this is my fault, this is only a case about damages, looks a little different than settling a case where a doctor or a hospital is showing up in court saying, I didn't do anything wrong, I was trying to help this person. And that really matters. And maybe it shouldn't, right? But we're talking about monopoly money, and we're talking about trying to send messages to rich and famous people who were Times Person of the Year 20 years ago. That level of notoriety and fame is a game changer for what a jury's doing, and it may be impossible for anyone to be totally fair and objective when you're dealing in that scope, in that magnitude.
I don't have a problem with it because, as we know, bad conduct gets punished. I think the verdict was so high here because they were so upset on how these women were injured, the source of the injury, which was apparently just outrageous false actions, and they punished it. So I don't have a problem with it. Where I have a problem is relating it back to our own work. If you're going to award hundreds of millions of dollars for false statements being said about someone, then juries need to start awarding tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars when somebody dies. Did they get it fair? Is it right? Sure. Just start awarding more money on cases that also deserve it.
As bad as what the plaintiffs in this case were subjected to, it's not as bad as being killed or being seriously maimed, right? There are cases all the time where people die or are severely physically injured to the point that their quality of life drops to nothing. And yet these damages are more than what you would expect for getting killed or getting seriously maimed. And there's something about that in the way that the system is interacting that makes me uncomfortable and want to say, look, we need to put the brakes on here somewhere, somehow. But I'm not going to say that this verdict is unfair as such, right? Should they be getting 10 times or 20 times what people who are dead are getting? Probably not. But I think that's undervaluing death, not overvaluing these injuries.